UFC 320 has been confirmed to take place in Guadalajara, Mexico. So boys, I'm going to be matchmaking this card and give you guys my predictions for the official card. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe because we are trying to hit 800 subscribers by the end of the year. It would mean a lot if you can go ahead and do that. And I know Hupero MMA has already done a video on matchmaking this card, but you know, that was before UFC 314. We know a little bit more about the featherweight division now. And obviously, as a Mexican myself, I'd like to give my input on this card. So let's get into the first prelim match I do have booked. Fernando Padilla versus Kevin Vallejos. Obviously, if you don't know Kevin Vallejos, he is an upcoming prospect, 15-1. He fights like Ilia Topuria, has an Ilia Topuria style, and his only loss is to Gene Silva on the Contender Series a couple years back. So pay attention for Kevin Vallejos, and we're going to be giving him Fernando Padilla, a Mexican. So, you know, we'll feed into the Mexican lure. Fernando Padilla, he got pieced up by Sean Woodson last time out at UFC Tampa, I believe. And he's a bit of a jobber, but who cares, dude? We need to feed him to Kevin Vallejos just for funsies. The next fight I do have, you know, you can't have a card in Mexico without Raul Rosas Jr. And we're going to be giving him none other than Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear, one of the only fighters to have a twister in UFC history. Damon Blackshear's coming off a win against, I don't even know who he's coming off a win against, but he did fight on the Marvin Vettori versus Rome Delite 2 card a couple weeks back. You know, Damon Blackshear is always getting people into the weirdest submissions. He's a submission specialist, and Raul Rosas Jr., he got caught in a couple submissions in his last fight against Vince Morales. So I'm interested to see if Raul Rosas Jr. can prove all the haters wrong and come up with a win against Damon Blackshear, a submission specialist. You know, Raul Rosas Jr. gives his neck away pretty easily, so he needs to be careful, and this would be a great displaying if he could go ahead and win this. The next fight I do have, though, it's going to be a classic. Mateusz Rebecki versus Manuel Torres. Let me tell you about this matchup, dude. Hardcores, if you're hardcore like me, dude, this matchup is a fire matchup. Mateusz Rebecki is coming off a win, a UFC 308 against Urabai. Manuel Torres is obviously coming off that win against Drew Dover, making him look silly. And both of these guys in their UFC career went on a little winning streak, then they lost, but both of these guys have won their last fight. So similar careers so far in the UFC. And well, if you know both of these guys, you know this is going to be an instant classic, dude. This will be a straight war. Manuel Torres is going to be trying to get this guy out in the first round. Mateusz Rebecki is ready to go to war with anybody at any time, dude. We need this fight, dude. We need this fight. And moving on to the featured fight of the prelims, I have Brian Ortega versus Youssef Zalal. I know Brian Ortega is ranked pretty high in the featherweight division. What's Brian Ortega ranked, like 5th? But Youssef Zalal called him out, dude. Brian Ortega's Mexican-American. I think this would be a really fun fight to make. I don't know if they'd actually do Brian Ortega on the prelims, like I said, but Youssef Zalal called him out, and it'd be a fun fight. You know, Youssef Zalal has the idea that he's a runner. He ran away from Calvin Kattar for like the final minute of their fight, and everyone thinks he's a bad fighter. Come on, give Youssef Zalal a big step up in the rankings and see if he can pull it off. You know, Brian Ortega, he deserves to fight down. He's coming off a loss against Giga Lopez. But if he really wants to prove himself, he needs a win against Youssef Zalal. This would be a fun fight. And yeah, man, that's why I made it. The first fight of the main card, though. The first fight of the main card, Dominic Reyes versus Rakic. Dude, we need this fight. The Dominic Reyes title run is gonna develop further in this matchup, dude. This is a 6 pay-per-view layoff for Dominic Reyes and a 12 pay-per-view layoff for Rakic. Alexander Rakic, you know, he's a horrible bum. He's a horrible bum. I don't know how this guy's ranked in the top 5. But if Dominic Reyes wins this against Rakic, one win, just get this one win, dude. And if someone pulls out in a light heavyweight title fight, Dominic Reyes is going to be ready to step in. I never thought I would be saying that for Dominic Reyes, dude. In the big 2025, Dominic Reyes, it can potentially be a title contender. Rakic is a free win, dude. His best win is Anthony Smith. Dominic Reyes' best win is John Jones. Dominic Reyes beat John Jones. I don't care what any of you guys say. Dominic Reyes clearly beat John Jones. Alexander Rakic's best win is literally Anthony Smith. That should be determining this fight as a whole already. Dominic Reyes is going to win this fight. And well, boys, Dominic Reyes could be potentially fighting for a title after this fight, dude. I'm so excited for this man's career and see where it goes from here. But the next fight I do have booked for this card, Anthony Hernandez versus Jared Cannonier. I'm cooking with this card, bro. I'm cooking with this card, dude. Anthony Hernandez versus Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier he's a fight night merchant at this point, dude. It's kind of hard to just imagine Jared Cannonier anywhere else but the Apex at this point. Same with Anthony Hernandez. His last couple fights have been at the Apex. But put this at UFC 320, and I guarantee you it will deliver. Jared Cannonier is always putting on wars, dude. He had a war with Kyle Barala, a war with Imavov, and he just absolutely went to war with Gregory Rodriguez. He got knocked down like 2 times, but he came back. Jared Cannonier is an entertaining fighter. Anthony Hernandez is an entertaining fighter too. He 50-45 Michel Pereira pretty much before he finished him in the 5th round. And after that, he beat Brendan Allen pretty convincingly. This is a fun fight to make, dude. Anthony Hernandez showing he's still at the top, and Jared Cannonier showing if he's good enough to keep with the new generation. This is a fun fight to make. But the next fight, boys, the next fight is even better. Colon! Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez. Yeah, there is something in that. Yair Rodriguez, is a great talent. Yo, I was watching Chael Sonnen's video this weekend. Tell me why Chael Sonnen pronounces Yair Rodriguez Yair Rodriguez. Yo, someone needs to kill Chael Sonnen with these pronunciations, dude. It's making me mad. But yeah, Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez. This fight is literally perfect. If they don't make this fight, I will be fuming, dude. This is a perfect fight to make. Obviously, these guys got in a fight at the UFC 314 press conference. It makes perfect sense now. Yair Rodriguez is coming off a win. Diego Lopez is coming off a loss. If Yair Rodriguez wins, we can put him into a #1 contenders fight after this. If Diego Lopez wins, it will put him back into title contention. Perfect fight for this card, dude. Battle of them, who the real Mexican is, dude. In literally Mexico. Perfect fight. I don't even know who the fans would be cheering for. I was thinking about that earlier. Who would the fans be cheering for? The guy who's Mexican but trains in Chicago? Or the guy who's Brazilian but trains in Mexico? I don't know, man. I don't know. Fun fight though. I'm literally creaming over the idea of this fight. I would love this fight. But the co-main event of UFC 320. You guys are gonna hate me for this. Alexei Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko for... Let me explain, dude. Let me explain. Okay, Alexei Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko, they're both fighting at UFC 315. But they're not fighting against each other. Alexei Grasso is fighting against Natalie Silva, and Valentina Shevchenko is fighting against Manon Fiorot. If both of these guys, oh my gosh, I can't talk, man. If these 2 women win their next fight, then why are we not doing a 4th fight, dude? Why are we not doing a 4th fight? Grasso won the 1st time, they drew the 2nd time, and Shevchenko won the 3rd time. They're 1-1-1. If anything, Grasso had a finish over Shevchenko. Grasso is more deserving of a title shot than anyone else in the division. But I see why they're giving the title shot to Manon Fiorot. But Alexei Grasso deserves this opportunity, dude. How did she not deserve this? She submitted Shevchenko, dude. She deserves this, dude. We can't just brush over her. If she wins this UFC 315 and Shevchenko wins at UFC 315, then you better do this fight. I will be fuming if they don't do this fight because Alexei Grasso deserves this. Maybe I'm a little biased because she's Mexican and I'm Mexican, but still, dude, you gotta give her this. She finished Valentina Shevchenko. Name another person that deserves it in the division. You can't name anyone. And the final fight we do have, the main event for UFC 320, Alexandre Pantoja versus the winner of Brendan Royval versus Manel Kape. Alright, Pantoja, just wait out, dude. I don't want you to fight the elf on the shelf, Kai Kara France, at UFC 317. Just wait out until 320. Because is Islam Makhachev going to main event a pay-per-view in Mexico? Is Volkanovski going to main event a pay-per-view in Mexico? No one, literally no one can main event this pay-per-view. That's right. So I just went with Pantoja versus the winner of Brendan Royval versus Manel Kape. Hopefully, Brendan Royval can win against Manel Kape so we can have an actual decent Mexican in the main event. Because if Manel Kape wins, you know, we'll have 2 fighters who aren't Mexican in the main event. But that's fine. But it would just be a little bit nicer if we had Brendan Royval, who is a Mexican, in the main event against Alexandre Pantoja. And yeah, dude, that is my official prediction for this card. Maybe I made it a little bit too good. But, you know, I have high expectations for this company. This is a completely doable card, dude. I'm not putting Anthony Hernandez against Robert Whittaker. I'm not putting Dominic Reyes against Khalil Rountree. I'm not putting Brian Ortega versus, like, freaking Patricio Pitbull. I'm not making this hard for the UFC. Just make this fight, please. Just make this card, please. That's all I asked for. Thank you guys for watching. MMA Outpost out.